Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about a topic that is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, and it's how do we shallow the... I see a lot of people on this driving range and they always make these rehearsal moves where they are desperately trying to get the club from the inside, and they spend so much time focusing on that downswing position, but yet when they stand up over a golf ball, I see them make the swing that they normally make. They rehearse like this like crazy, but then they get up over the golf ball and they still end up coming over the top and cutting across it. So today what we're going to do is we're going to break down, because I want to give you an understanding. If you're trying to work on that move, there's some points beforehand that if the club's not in a good spot early in the backswing and as we build our backswing, it doesn't matter what we do, we're not going to magically get that golf club to shallow. So today we're going to talk about there's 3 things you have to make sure that you do in the backswing and setup to give you a chance to shallow the club, and we're going to break them down right now. So when I see players working on this position, that is very late in the downswing. And if we think about it, if we think that we're going to be able to magically get the club in this position at that moment in time, you're sorely mistaken. And what I want to talk about today is the things I see often that mess that up. The first thing we need to understand is that the club face is king. And for so many of you, part of the reason why you cannot shallow the golf club, or you struggle to shallow the golf club, is because your club face is very open. Something that I see a lot of players do is when they are working on shallowing, they're spending so much time worrying about the shallow that a lot of times I see this where they're trying to shallow it. Club face is extremely open. Let's say you were to actually shallow it out and you would have an in-out club path. But if your face was that open, you would still hit miles to the right, because now you'd have a path going to the right with the club face pointing to the right. So the first thing we have to consider if we want to shallow the club is that we want to make sure that our club face is under control. Now, if we want an in and out path because we're trying to hit a straighter shot or we're trying to hit a draw, ideally we're looking for the face to be closed or square to the path. And for a lot of you, what we see in the visual that I'll give you, I'll come a little bit closer here. The visual that we see here is right now I'm looking at my spine angle and I'm looking at where the bottom of the club is relative to my spine angle. So right now this golf club would be very open. The grooves are pointing to the sky. This golf club would be very closed. The grooves are pointing to the ground. And this one here would be a little bit more neutral because the bottom groove of the club is... Now for those of you that struggle with wanting to shallow it, there's a checkpoint I need you to do, and it's very early in the backswing. It's by the time you take your club parallel to the ground, right? So just that first part of the backswing, if you go by the P system, we'll call it P2. But when you get to P2, where is that club face pointing? Because what that'll tell us is what did we do in the takeaway, and it might also give us a little bit of insight to what our grip is like. Because if we have a crummy grip that opens the club face, you can try shallowing and it's never going to work out the way that you want to. So when you get to P2, what I like to do is I'll get set up to a tee here, and I'm just going to make a backswing. I'm still going to look at what would be the golf ball, and I'm going to go back to P2. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look. And right now, to me, that is pretty close to my spine angle, so I would consider that a fairly neutral club face. If you're the player that takes it back to P2 and the groove or the face up and down, for a lot of you that face is open, and as we come down in the downswing, that face continues to get more open. Hey, here's a little secret. On every Thursday, I send an email with 2 things. My favorite golf tip of that week, and either a quote or stat or sometimes even a game that you can use when you practice. I don't want you to miss it. The next one's coming on Thursday morning. Make sure you check the link in the description, sign up for my newsletter, because on Thursday, the next one's coming. Now let's get you back to your video. So a great exercise for you is just going back to P2, and let's we're going to find the middle. So I'm going to take it back super closed, right? Grooves are literally pointing to the ground. And then I'm going to take it back super open. And then now what I'm looking to do here is I'm looking to find the middle. So closed, open, find the middle. the first thing you have to do is you have to check that club face in the takeaway. If the club face is open, you can try to shallow it all you want, but if you shallow out an open club face to your path, that ball's still gonna go way to the right. The second thing we have to do, once we consider where our face is pointing, is where the club is going in the takeaway and very early in the backswing. We go back to this P2 example, and what I see a lot of players do is they're so focused on trying to shallow the club out, right? They're always working on shallowing the club out. But then I watch their takeaway, and the club comes very inside in the takeaway. And if we have a golf club that comes very inside in the takeaway, what are we supposed to shallow it under, right? So then what happens is a player will set up and their backswing will be very flat. They'll take it back very inside. And now when they do that, there's nowhere to go. So then again, they end up coming over the top. So their grip can eliminate their chances of shallowing the golf club, but also their takeaway can eliminate chances of shallowing the golf club. So when we go back to that P2 position, the reason why I have this alignment rod down here, aside from the fact alignment's extremely important and we should always be checking it, is when I go back to that P2 position, I'm looking to see, is the shaft of my club, how close is it to being parallel with my toe line? This would be outside, this would be inside, and this would be parallel. And for a lot of you that are struggling with a slice because you come over the top, your club face is open and you take the golf club inside. And now from there, the only few options we have is we have to come over the top. You can try to shallow all you want, but you've predetermined your fate by those two things. So I need you to look at where your club face is, and I need you to look at where your takeaway is. Once we have an understanding of those two, which are so early in the golf swing but are so important, you can maybe start to make a change. Say, okay, I'm trying to shallow it out, but my club face is always open. I've got to make an adjustment to my face or possibly look at my takeaway. Now, the last thing that we're going to look at is an exaggeration. And when I teach, I love having exaggerations and I love having drills that are an exaggerated feel, because the thing I'm looking for and the thing I tell a lot of players when we talk about change or making change in the golf swing, if it doesn't feel different, it is no different. And when I tell a player, especially when we're first trying to work on something, to give me an exaggeration, I don't want a 5 out of 10, I don't want a 6 out of 10. I want a 13 out of 10 or a 15 out of 10. Because if we're trying to actually drastically change either the direction of our club face or the direction of our club path, we need to exaggerate it. The golf swing happens way too quickly, the motion is way too fast, and also very short if you think about it, like 0.8 second backswing and then 0.2 second downswing. We don't have a lot of time to feel that change or to actually make something happen. So we've got to exaggerate it. So the third thing is we're going to call a Jim Furyk swing. And regardless what you believe about Jim Furyk, he's made over $20 million on the PGA Tour. I'm sure he's going to go down as a Hall of Famer. He's one of the greats of the game. And he has one of the most unique golf swings of all time. But if there's one thing Jim Furyk does on every single golf shot, is he shallows the club out and comes from the inside. And the visual of his swing is that he makes a backswing where the club gets very vertical, like literally at point, like the shaft is literally pointed directly up to the sky. And now what happens is once he goes back vertical, they're actually somewhere for that club to shallow. For those of you that take it back flat, there's nowhere for it to shallow, we come over the top. So what I want you to do is I want you to watch the club head here, and when I make that Jim Furyk swing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go really out with the club head, and then I'm going to come inside with the club head. And I know the magic move for all of you is trying to feel this, but the way that I got there is I got to go very outside to come inside. Hey there, Coach Ryan just hopping in here for a second. I just want to say thanks for watching this video, and I have a few favors to ask. If you don't already, please make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. The more support, the more content I create. If you like this video, make sure you give me a little thumbs up. And if you have any questions or comments, please post them down below. I do my best to respond to every single comment. Now, last thing is make sure you hit that little bell so when I drop more videos just like this one, you're the first one to get notified. You don't miss out on any of my content. Thanks again for watching. Let's get you back to your video. Another visual of how we do this is I'm just going to use my right hand. So I'm going to put my club down for a second, and I'm just going to use my right hand. And for those of you that come over the top, what happens is your right hand goes in and then over, right? Your right hand goes in, comes over, and cuts across. The opposite feeling would be that we are going to come outside and in, outside and in. And from your visual, what it looks like is I'm drawing a circle. Well, right now I'm drawing a circle in this direction, as opposed to making the fault and drawing a circle in that direction. So when we go back to grab our golf club, let's keep in mind that when we draw the circle, we want to go out to in, not in to out. So if you want to shallow the golf club, let's put the club in a position where we can actually shallow it out. So there's three things that we talked about. We've got to know where our grip is at. We've got to make sure that club face is not open. We got to know where our club is at the takeaway to make sure that it's not too far inside. And then we actually have to put the club in a position to be able to shallow it out. For the first two, we can check that at P2. Right now as my club face closes, it opens. So many of you, those grooves are going to be pointing to the sky when they've got to be pointing more down. And the second part of that is in the takeaway, are we taking the golf club inside, which is incentivizing over the top, or are we taking it back on plane? And then now the third part is let's get that visual of drawing a circle where if we want to come inside, we want the club to work a little bit more up in the back and shallow in the downswing. If it only works around us, there's nowhere for it to go, it's got to come over the top. So shallowing is a very popular topic. I believe a lot of players would benefit from being able to shallow the golf club, but when I talk about it and when I observe golfers, there's a couple mistakes that they make. They don't have very good awareness of their club face. They take the club inside and they go into over instead of getting that club more vertical. I hope this has helped you out. If you look in the description down below, I have a question for you that if you answer, I will help you a little bit deeper on this topic. Thanks again for watching, folks, and have a great day.